All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of AYS Fight Club. I'm one half of your handsome host, Daniel Dees, and alongside me, as always, the other handsome host is Matt Bricker. Matt, what's up?
Hey, not too much, man. I'm ready to get going.
Matt, I gotta be honest with you. I gotta call you out for drinking the Kool-Aid.
Uh-oh.
All right, so Conor McGregor recently tweeted out, "This will be my masterpiece." And Matt, you did it. You drank the Kool-Aid.
That's what I needed to see from him. I even said it before. It's almost not hearing from him, and then something just simple like that, just to kind of show me, where his mind is at. And yeah, I drank it. I'm in.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If it was anybody else, I'd be chugging that Kool-Aid like I was addicted to it. I mean, I even drank the Kool-Aid when he was going to box Floyd. I mean, when it first announced, like, oh, Floyd's going to whip his ass. But leading up to the fight, I'm like, Conor could do it. I mean, I've drank in his Kool-Aid plenty of times, but I can't go against Dustin. Can't do it. But I was watching a whole bunch of Dustin Poirier highlights, and the dude's boxing is just too damn crisp for that octagon.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. He probably has the best hands in pound for pound, probably the best hands in the whole UFC. That I can't think of anyone much better boxing-wise in the UFC. Maybe Nate, maybe Nick, but Nick's not in the UFC, so it's between him and Nate when it comes to hands. But you're right. When you don't hear from Conor and then you see something like that, it just gives you chills. I mean, it gave me chills.
Yeah.
So I'm still sticking with the third-round TKO by Dustin. You said the exact opposite, third-round TKO by Conor.
Yep.
Yes. I had to call you out on that. You went against our boy. All right, so let's go ahead and dive into this. It was just announced that Petr Yan and Aljamain Sterling got added to the March 6 UFC 259 card. I'm on Tapology right now. I got it on the other side of my screen. And this is probably one of the most stacked cards I've ever seen in all my years of watching MMA. I'm 30 years old. I started watching when I was about 10, 11, 12 maybe, around that time frame. And when it comes to cards, this thing is dummy stacked. Let me read it off to you. Main event, we got Jan Blachowicz versus Izzy Adesanya. Co-main, Amanda Nunes, Megan Anderson. Before that, we got Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling. Before that, Thiago Santos versus Alexander Rakic. That could headline its own card right there. Then we got Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kenny. Casey Kenny, I mean, he's got wins over Ray Borg. Who else am I missing? I don't want to go to his Tapology page. I like memorizing this stuff. I pride myself on that. I know he's Brandon Royval. That's another name to his hit list. So that's going to be a fun fight. We got who else we got? Joseph Benavidez versus Askar Askarov. Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober. Sean Brady versus Jake Matthews. Tim Elliott versus Jordan Espinoza. I don't know what fight I'm most excited for. Do you?
I think I've been a fan too long because I'm just running in my head. How many of these fights are going to fall off? We still got like 2 months left.
Matt, it's a new year. It's 2021. We're not going to be thinking negative thoughts like this right now.
I don't want to because I'm like, man, if this card happens, because my birthday's the 7th, that would be like a perfect, birthday weekend right there to have a card like that. Man, I'm just thinking, man, how many of these fights are going to fall apart?
Kevin Grant, what's up, boy?
What's up, Kevin?
Glad to join us. All right. So let's go ahead. I want to go ahead and early break down that card before you said, like, it's MMA. The fight gods never let us have anything nice. So let's go ahead and break this down real quick. We have Sarah Davila coming on from Alpha 06 Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Baton Rouge. We're waiting for her. While we wait for her, let's break down this card. Main event, Jan Blachowicz versus Izzy Adesanya. Last week, it got announced, and this week it got an actual date, March 6th. So we got middleweight heavyweight champion of the world versus light heavyweight champion of the world. This has never happened before. We never had middleweight versus light heavyweight. I think last week we're both in agreement that this is all Jan right here.
Yeah, and nothing's changed for me. I mean, I'm no recanting or anything. I'm staying with Jan on this.
Yeah, especially after Izzy said he doesn't plan on packing on anyway. He's just going to weigh in at probably 193 and call it a day.
Yeah.
Gotta be honest with you, that's a bad move on Izzy. I mean, if he pulls it off, more power to him, but you got to pack on some weight. Jan Blachowicz is going to weigh in at 205. He's going to walk in that cage damn near 30 to 40 pounds heavier than
I was about to, because Jan's not going to walk in at 205.
Absolutely not. Ain't no chance in hell that's going to happen. And you pack on that Polish power hitting something that weighs 190 pounds, that's not going to be a good night for Izzy. I got a bad feeling about this. I like Jan Blachowicz. I got Jan in the second round. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same thing. But really, I mean, for Izzy, either way, it's a can't lose situation. Because even if he loses, well, he went up, to the light heavyweight. He's still the middleweight champion. So, and if he wins, then all the better for him in his case. But really, it's a win-win for him no matter what. If he loses, he lost to a guy that's 50 pounds bigger than him, and hits like a Mack truck.
Absolutely, and Mack truck's putting it lightly. This is probably one of the hardest hitting 205ers that's ever lived. I mean, everybody else will probably say Glover Teixeira or Anthony Johnson, but those people, I guarantee you, have not seen enough Jan Blachowicz. The Polish power, I know it's a running joke within there, but it's an actual thing. I don't know what it is about the Poles, but these cats lay hammers.
And obviously, I always talk a lot about KSW, but they're the heart of KSW is their heavyweight division. So it's no coincidence that that is that way.
And we said it last week. I think every year it's like a new country bursts on the scene. I think this is the year of Poland right here. Before that, we had Nigeria. Then we had New Zealand before that. And before New Zealand, I want to say it was probably Ireland, whatever. It's always a country that's bursting on the scene that puts everybody on notice. And I think this is Poland's year. All right. And co-main event, we got Amanda Nunes versus Megan Anderson. That's going to be our co-main. Last week, I said, I'm not picking Megan, but this has a huge upset alert potential right here. I think stylistically, I think Megan is going to give Amanda a lot of fits. She's not going to stay in the pocket and trade like Chris Cyborg or Garay Namin. Megan's going to stay on the outside and she's going to work her range. I'm picking Amanda. I think Amanda's probably going to whoop her ass, but Megan does have that range that could give Amanda Nunes fits, especially since Amanda's going to be the smaller fighter coming in this. Matt, what you think?
I was going to say that Megan is a true featherweight, and that's always going to help going in there. Yeah, I mean, she's training with James Krause, a brilliant mind, help her put together a good game plan. Same thing. I think it's going to be a good show, but Nunes, as long as she's in there, she's gonna win. I mean, she's the women's GOAT for a reason, and like I said, and I'm with you. It's going to be close, but I mean, it's Nunes will, she's absolutely going to walk away with it though at the end.
Oh, absolutely. I like this fight. Cannot wait. All right. And before that, we got Thiago Santos versus Alexander Rakic. Rakic, this is going to be the fight that puts him at the top of 205. I'm a huge fan of him. If you haven't watched him, go Google him. He was so damn good. He's a very good Muay Thai fighter. His only loss is was a controversial split decision against Volkan Ozdemir. I had Rakic winning that, and before that, he head kicked Jimmy Manoa's head clean off his shoulders. Super smooth. This fight should not go past the first round. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you there. I've always been a huge fan of Rakic. He's one of those. He's from Austria, so he's that Austria-Polish Czech, area guy. These guys can strike. That's the big thing over there. Is striking comes before all else, and he can.
Yeah, I'll see.
Get in there and swing with Santos, and yeah, I mean, like I said, you can take down Jimmy Manuel, who's always been a tough guy. Just take him out so decisively.
Less than a minute.
Yeah. So this is definitely, and lightweight, heavyweight has been, since John Jones is gone or whatever he is, it's kind of been the carousel division, or I think Jan will be at the top for a while, but it's always that division where a new star can be born. It's always seemed to be from light heavyweight because there's so many people coming in and out, and they're so close. These guys are all so close that they kind of leapfrog each other, and this is just going to be another example of that.
Exactly. I'm taking Rakic in this one. I think Glover. I thought that not Glover, Thiago. I think him coming off a disappointing loss against Glover, who came off a disappointing loss before that fight to John Jones. I think this just isn't a good time for him to be fighting someone like Rakic's skill set. I think Rakic has all the momentum in the world, whereas Thiago has absolutely no momentum right now in his career. So I think this is not going to be a good night for Thiago. All right, before that, we have Dominic Cruz versus Casey Kenny. I'm a huge Cruz fan. I'm a huge fan of these fighters who can explore the octagon, who work their feet, who likes to get in, get out of the pocket. But Casey Kenny, as I was saying before, he has wins over Ray Borg. He has wins over Brandon Royval. He's beat Louis Smolka. He's beaten the best of the best at his division. So, and just recently, on the Khabib Gaethje card, he beat Nathaniel Wood. Nathaniel Wood's a bad, bad dude if you haven't seen him. So this is one of those fights where I'm 50-50 on. I mean, I'm a huge Cruz fan, but I got to go youth over experience on this one. I think Dominic Cruz, this is going to be him going out on his shield. I think Casey Kenny's going to take it. 3rd round submission. What you got?
Yeah, I like Kenny too. I mean, you beat Nathaniel Wood. He's a Brad Pickett guy. You know, his nickname was a prospect, highly, touted out of Cage Warriors. So, I mean, you can get a win over somebody like that, and go to decision with them to grind out somebody like Wood, who that's kind of what he does, kind of beat somebody at his own game like that. Man, because, I mean, there was a lot of comparisons to Wood, from Wood to Cruz, in Wood's early days coming up, like I said, being a Brad Pickett guy, so to beat somebody like that says a lot for me. So I think Kenny will get a decision. I don't think he's going to be able to finish Cruz, but because of that last win is why I'm going to go this way. I know the other ones are impressive. It's just something about beating Nathaniel Wood that I'm going to go this way. If not, I would be more so on the fence or even going to Cruz. But I think coming off of a win like that against somebody like that, to a fan like me, legitimizes, his place.
Right. And I kept this fight right here because rumor has it, this is what's going to, for the first time ever, we're going to have a 3-title fight card. This is just a rumor. I cannot confirm or deny. I haven't talked to anybody who really knows what's going on right here. But the rumor is this is what they're going to put the 3rd title fight. Well, actually, technically the 1st title fight, but the 3rd title fight announced as the ESPN free card main event, just to get people into that fight zone, that Izzy zone coming up. It's going to be Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling. If it is the headliner for ESPN, the prelims, do you think that's kind of disrespectful towards Yan and Sterling?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, the smaller weight divisions have always kind of had a problem building that momentum, building their fan base. So I think, no, it's not, in the sense that you're going to have a lot more people that are going to watch the ESPN portion than that are going to fork out for the pay-per-view.
That's a good point.
So these guys that we know who these guys are, we know who Yan and Sterling are easily, but you go ask most people, they're not going to know really who those guys are. So no, in the sense that this is going to help them, with build their fan bases. And, Sterling is one of those guys who's very attractive to the fans. His fan base would be way more than it was if something like this would have happened earlier for him. So yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna go more so that no, it's not because of that. I don't even know how the quote unquote pay-per-view points things even works anymore with the ESPN deal. So I don't even.
That's so confusing to me these days.
Work. So I mean, I don't see the benefit of, financially. I mean, you're still on the pay-per-view. You're fighting for the title. That doesn't change. You're still fighting for the title. It's not,
right. I don't think their paycheck's going to change. Just where you go on the card.
The UFC Bantamweight title is the UFC Bantamweight title, whether it's the curtain jerker or it's the main event. It's still the same title. And if the money's the only thing that, big in, previous, lifetimes of the UFC, yeah, absolutely, because it was all based off of pay-per-view points and all that kind of stuff played a lot more into it. But nowadays, with kind of the new evolution of where we are, I'm going to say no, because it's going to help these guys, especially whoever wins, build their fan base up more than more than just us as hardcore fans. It's going to help. You're going to get a lot of people who are flipping through and going to watch ESPN, especially with college football almost done.
Yeah, that'll be completely over with.
I don't know. But those
in March. I mean, college football is going to be definitely over March 6th.
Those people are going to be looking for something to watch on ESPN. You're going to have your sports people that go straight to ESPN no matter what's on. They're going to watch ESPN. You're going to have your sports fans, and they're going to watch this. It's a title fight. Hey, these guys must be good. They're fighting for a title. And then when these guys' personalities come out, that's when they can grab in more of those casual fans. So I think it's a great idea.
On top of that, memory just struck me. There was a time when they put Uriah Faber on the prelim main event just to do this, just to like, hey, turn on ESPN. There's a guy with a name right here, Uriah Faber. It's free. You should watch it. And the hope was you're watching Uriah Faber do his thing. This was prime Uriah Faber, by the way. When he wasn't fighting for the title, he was main eventing those prelim cards. So maybe they're trying to bring that back, trying to get some momentum going into the main card. So, well, that being said, who do you got in this one?
And also in a couple weeks, the Holloway card, it's supposed to be ABC or something for the main.
Yes,
card.
that's our next.
So yeah, it's definitely piggybacking off what you just said. It definitely seems like they're getting more back into that network type of flow for these guys. If this fight happens, for whatever reason, I feel like this is the fight that's gonna fall off. I don't know why. I don't know why. This is the one I want to see.
If I had to pick one fight I'm looking forward to most, it's obviously going to be Izzy Jan. But after that, I got to say Jan versus Sterling.
And that's why I think it's going to fall off, because I want to see it so bad. I've been wanting Sterling. He's been pissed on by the UFC for so long. He's finally getting it. I just think something's going to happen. But, man, I like Sterling. I'm going to go with Sterling. I just think he's unique enough, and his style is just unorthodox enough to where somebody like Jan, who's that Eastern European Russian, who's kind of more straight line stylistically, I think Sterling has just enough to where he could throw him off to where he'll win.
Right. And I think I'm going to go with Sterling too. I think he just straight up beat the ever living shit out of Corey Sandhagen. Yeah. Before that was Pedro Munoz. But I love Peter Yan. I'm not trying to take anything away from him. But the main reason I'm taking Aljamain Sterling is we really have not seen Peter Yan versus the elite prime bantamweights right here. His last fights were Jose Aldo. You can't say he's in his prime. Uriah Faber. Can't say he's in his prime. Jimmy Rivera. He's always been kind of on the fringe right there. And before that, John Dodson. Where's that elite prime fighter in that resume? He's not there. Sterling is that first real test for Peter Yan. And like I said, Sterling just fought Corey Sandhagen, Pedro Munoz, and he too beat Jimmy Rivera. Like straight up, I think he beat Rivera worse than Yan beat Rivera. So it's 50-50 in my mind, but just based off of their recent resumes, I got to go Sterling on this one. All right, who else we got on this card? We also got Joseph Benavidez trying to get back to his winning ways versus Askar Askarov. So what you think about this one?
I like Askar Askarov. I like his style. I'm trying to get back to see what his Tapology page here. But yeah, I mean, I like him. I'm gonna go. I think Askar's going to take this one for sure.
Right. I mean, he's undefeated. Wins over Pantoja, Tim Elliott. He was supposed to fight Brandon Moreno. I think that was going to be a good fight. But Joseph Benavidez, I think he's on the way out. I think this is one of those typical, the promoters putting a guy who used to be at the top, but who's on his way out versus a guy who's coming in on the way up. I mean, this is a tale of all his time. It's typical promotion right there. If you get a prime guy on the way out, you got to give him a guy who's going to be in his prime on the way up. So, and then let's see. We got Islam Makhachev versus Drew Dober. We got Sean Brady, Jake Matthews. Those are going to be some fun fights. But the curtain joker, that's going to be a real fun one. Tim Elliott versus Jordan Espinoza. So can't wait for March 6th. I hope you're wrong. I hope not a single fight falls off into anything. I hope they insert more. I can never this is probably the most stacked card I've ever seen. We've got 5 UFC title holders on here. So let's do it. All right. Going into our next topic. It's UFC Fight Night. It's going to be Holloway versus Kattar. except it got pulled from ESPN, is getting put on ABC. This is Dana White's dream. He's been wanting ever since he's been on Fox. He even said, "Look, I want to work with ABC. They got Disney, they got the money, they got the deep pockets. I want to be on ABC because when you think ABC, you think original Monday Night Football. You get all these primetime college football games back when I want to say the Fiesta Bowl was on ABC. So this is prime sports right here, and we got headlining that you got two guys who are just going to go at it. Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. And we got Amari Akhmedov versus Tom Breeze. Santiago Ponzinibbio, who's on, I think, both of our welterweight rankings, going against Jin Yang Lee. That's going to be an absolute barn burner right there. I think they came in they put the right card on ABC for its debut. Yeah. So what you think about this one?
Yes, and also too, as of right now, you get Carlos Condit and Matt Brown kicking off the main card.
How about that one? That was
I'm
such a huge Carlos Condit fan.
Yeah, that's definitely for a treat for the hardcore fans there to get on ABC. But yeah, I mean it legitimizes you as a sport when you go from underground to where you're only on old VHS tapes to where evolve into Spike TV and you're just part of the evolution. ESPN and now ABC, it legitimizes you along with other sports.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Dana White's dream is to take this product that's been deemed like human cockfighting, has like such a bad stigma. His dream actually is to put on a fight at the Disney World Sports Complex. If anybody could pull it off, it's definitely Dana White. Because in my opinion, I'm agreeing with Dana White when he says if we can get Octagon at Disney Sports Center, we've made it. We're done. We're in the mainstream of the mainstream. So I think this is a step in the right direction. We've come from renting past events at video stores that we've never seen to reading results online back on the underground days to streaming to buying pay-per-views to ESPN, Fox, and now we're on ABC. I think this is probably a huge deal that not many people, especially fans, are talking about. So Max Holloway versus Calvin
even
Kattar.
The prelims too. There's a ton of good fights even on there too. You got David Zawada is fighting. He's former KSW guy. His brother's fighting in the main event at KSW 58 the week after. So this card's on January 23rd. His brother's fighting in the main event on KSW 58 on the 30th. Yeah. Mike Grundy, a tough, wrestler. I talked to him last week. He's fighting Nick Lentz. He's ready to get that big name on his resume. So I mean, there's a huge
Grundy fan. I like Grundy.
Yeah, there's a lot of good names on here that they want to showcase. You got like Austin Lingo, Phil Hawes, who had a very impressive knockout. Ricky Simone. So they're getting a lot of the names on here that they want to showcase and that can put on a show. So
right.
Hopefully it pans out as planned because this could be huge. You put a big show on ABC, that could really lead to some big things.
All right, we got Lester Abear. I can never see Disney allowing violent sports being around their family atmosphere. I mean, never say never on this. I mean, if you would have told me back in like 2006, we'd be prime time on ABC, I'd say you're out your damn mind, So never say never. I mean, it's Dana White. If anybody can do it, it's Dana White. I mean, they've had boxing at Disney before, way back in the day. So I could definitely see them having MMA. I mean, it depends on what we have. I mean, I don't think they're going to put a guy like Mike Perry in Disney, but you never know. Never say never on this. All right, so we got Sarah here. We're going to wait for her to get her camera working. Once that gets working, we're going to have her on. We're going to talk some fisticuffs. She has some grappling coming on. Can't wait to talk to her. So what we got next on the menu? All right, so we got Mike Chandler. Mike Chandler finally has his UFC debut booked. He has a dance partner. I think he's in the doghouse on this one. They're giving him Dan Hooker. Do you think this is him turning down all those fights? That's punishment for him? Like he came in anytime, anywhere, and then he kept backing out when they came to him. So I think this is kind of punishment for backing out of those fights because Dan Hooker, I would hate for that to be my debut. What you think?
Hey, but who in the top 10 would you like to fight in your debut in the lightweight division? You know, that's always been a stacked division for them. And we knew him coming in, he was going to be, you know, one of those, you know, taking on one of those top guys. So, I mean, man, even though Hooker lost, you can't look at his record and
No, absolutely not. Records don't mean anything.
He's one of those fighters that it means absolutely nothing. I mean, if anything, he walked away with a lot of respect and a win to a lot of people, you know, going in there with Poirier. Obviously, he didn't win, but in the hearts and minds of a lot of fight fans, you know, putting up that kind of fight with somebody like Poirier, you know, so yeah, I mean, it's hard to say, but man, I mean, who would you want to fight in that top 8, top 10 coming in? You know, so we knew it was going to be something tough.
It is. So who do you like in this fight, actually?
I think it depends really on where it's going to go. Man, but Chandler's been out for so long. I don't. If I had to pick right now, I'm gonna go with Hooker. But man, you know, you just never know. I mean, Chandler's not getting any younger. You know, he's already up there as far as fight age goes. And man, you know, he's kind of been sitting out for a little while. I figured he'd have got a lot quicker start. But man, yeah, I think we just the kind of the delayed start. He's getting older there, and then specifically Hooker. I'm
especially with Mike Chandler on some repaired knees. I think this is a bad matchup for his UFC cherry getting popped. So, but do you think this is punishment for him for backing out?
I don't think so.
I hate saying that. I hate being tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, but
yeah,
it kind of seems like punishment.
I don't think so, because I mean, I don't know who else he would fight, you know. Yeah, I mean, no, I don't think so.
I mean, I'm looking at rankings. I'm trying to think, who would you put him up against?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's going to be tough either way. And then most of those guys have already got partners lined up. So, I mean, who would you put him with? I mean, man, you got to know coming into the UFC lightweight division that it's going to feel like a punishment. Because, I mean, man, all those guys up there, you know, there's Oliveira on a roll, you know, just all these guys have different things going for them. Everybody's kind of in something right now. You know, obviously with Dustin and, you know, Dustin and, you know, Connor got their thing going on. Hey, it's just, there's so much going on right now. So it's made just the best.
I got the top 10 pulled up. We're going to run through this. Obviously, he's not fighting number 1. He's not fighting Dustin. Justin Gaethje, he wants something else. There's no reward for this for him fighting Chandler. Right. I don't see.
Probably, if anything, Gaethje would have probably turned that one down. There would have been anything in it for him.
But it makes sense for Gaethje to turn that down. There's no benefit for this one. Someone making their debut versus a guy who just came off losing the title fight of his life.
Right.
I don't see Oliveira doing it. He just came off of Ferguson. I don't see Ferguson doing it because, like I said, he's probably going to be taking some time off. Got Hooker, number 5. Yikes. That's his. We got Paul Felder. I can see. I would have liked to have seen that one, actually. Paul Felder versus Mike Chandler. Diego Ferreira. He's fighting Dariush. We got Dariush fighting Ferreira. Dos Anjos. That would have been a good one. And we got Kevin Lee. So I think out of all that, I think Paul Felder would have been the most fun matchup. But I think they wanted – I think Dana was thinking, all right, you said you're going to come in, fight anybody, anywhere. You didn't want to fight somebody on short notice. You didn't want to fight on this month. You didn't want to cut weight this close to a fight. So here you go. You got Dan Hooker, your first one.
Yeah, I mean, he's getting the highest, really, in our opinion, the highest ranked opponent really on that list that he could get.
Realistically, yeah.
I mean, realistically, I mean, he's kind of getting the highest, you know, so you pull out a win on that, then it kind of changes the landscape a little bit. But I mean, he's getting the highest ranked opponent really realistically at this time he can get. So,
all right. Let's move on to a different sport. Let's go over some boxing. All right. Something happened recently. I'm a huge fan of. We got Ryan Garcia and Gervonta Davis going at each other. When was the last time we've seen 2 young fighters who are going in their prime actually wanting to get in there? Like, they're chomping at the bit to get in there. It's not like bad blood, but it's just, hey, I think you're a good matchup. So let's do it. So they started talking shit on Mike Tyson's podcast, Hot Boxing. When have you ever seen two young guys just go at each other like this without – because usually we get these talks happening. It's like, well, I deserve more money. You know, I'm a bigger draw. Who have you fought? Who you fought? Blah, blah, blah. But no, we got two young guys who want to smoke with each other. When have you ever seen that?
The Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford, you know that. But it all boxing is so much more political than what people really know. There's so much more. You know, the Bob Arums and the Oscar De La Hoyas and all these guys. These are the guys that control when these guys fight. I think I would love to see it, but then is it going to be like Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford, where they say they have something and they don't, and it falls apart.
Yeah.
And then it ends up finally where you end up with a Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather situation where it should have happened 10 years ago. By the time everybody gets their shit together and gets.
But they're both in their 20s, so hey, they got all the time to actually do it.
Yeah, they don't get this one they'll be in their 30s. We'll get it. But yeah, I mean, man, it's sad that it's just the way that boxing is organized. We kind of talked about this a little bit before. We've kind of went off on tangents about this before. I mean, it's just getting everybody in line is the problem. And it's not even a lot of times not even so much the fighters as is the promoters that want. Hey, I want this, TV money, or I want it to be on my network, not your network. A lot of it ends up being that one on Showtime. No, I want it on Fox or whatever. On PBC. Then they get into all this over all this other stuff. So, I mean, if you could just do away with all that, I think we'd see a lot of great matchups. But, I think it's going to be one of those things where it's going to end up just like what we're having right now with Errol Spence and Terrence Crawford.
Please don't put that evil on them. I mean, Spence, Crawford, that's like my holy grail boxing fight right now. Dude, like I would do some unspeakable stuff to watch that fight. I would sacrifice like a body part if I had to, just to watch them two. Because one morning I'll wake up and I'll say, hey, I think Spence is going to win. And I'll wake up the next morning, I think Bud Crawford's going to whoop his ass. So please don't put that evil on him. So let's talk about your baby now. Let's talk about KSW 58. So a lot of fights got announced for that. We got I can't pronounce these names, so you take this one away. I cannot speak these Polish names to save my life.
Yeah, I'm working on them. It's coming around a little bit, enough to where I can say the names at least. So, January 30th, which they've been
Jan 30th.
They've been rolling since about June or July. They've been having a show every month. They've been and no cancellations there. I talked to a lot of the fighters from over there. Jerko Yoon is one of the big guys that I talked to. He's from Belgium, but he trains in Germany. He's like, man, he said, we've almost been back to normal life over here for months. Things have been back to perfectly normal. And
on that card is a featherweight I actually ranked is Saladin Parnas. Can't wait to watch him.
Yeah,
I fell in love with his tape.
Oh yeah, Parnas is a special guy, and we talked about this. Some guys, a lot of those Polish guys, they think different. I mean, he's from France, but a lot of those guys, when they get in KSW, they don't feel like they need to come to the UFC. That's a lot of more of a Western thought that you need to be in the UFC. Right. I could see Parnas making that jump. Just a couple more title defenses and making that jump because he's super talented. He's really young. He's like early 20s. I'm talking like 21, 22 years old. This guy could be a name, in the UFC in no time. So I think a couple more. He's a dangerous, on the ground, on the feet. He's solid everywhere. He looks comfortable everywhere. And for a guy that young, that's a dangerous thing. They signed Euros Juristic. Yeah, he was Bellator guy. He's been on Bellator, Titan FC. He was on a season of The Ultimate Fighter when they did the American Top Team versus the Black Zillion season. So I thought he was going to come right in and face Roberto Soldic, but They're actually bringing up Shamil Masayev, who's a Russian guy
Yeah, we
from.
got two undefeated cats going at it.
He's moving up from lightweight to welterweight, so that kind of caught me off guard. I thought Masayev would have kept running towards the lightweight title. I figured his next fight would be for the lightweight title, but he made the jump up. The winner of this fight is going to get Soldich. I mean, there's no doubt. You can't convince me otherwise. They're both undefeated. I think one's 14-0, the other one's 11-0. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be the fight of the night. This one. And Shamil, his last two wins are knockouts. One, he's got a crucifix knockout. I mean, and the other one's like a spinning back fist or spinning back elbow or something. I mean, just a highlight reel type striker, just a dangerous guy. So, I mean, yeah, this is definitely fight of the night right here. And then, as I mentioned earlier, Martin Zawada, who's the older brother of David Zawada, is going to be fighting in the main event, fighting against Saizman Kolechi, who is an Olympic gold medal weightlifter. And the dude is the beast. The dude is the beast. He's 8-1. All of his fights ends by knockout. He's either going to knock you out or he's going to get knocked out. Most of the time,
power, baby.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, most of the time he is knocking you out.
That's actually what I'm actually really looking forward to.
7 of his 8 wins are first round knockouts. So the guy gets in there, he handles business. I mean, his last one was against Damian Janikowski, who was a bronze medal Olympic wrestler, and he knocked him out in the second round. Aside from that, he's knocked everybody out in the first round. Even Polzanowski, who is world's strongest man, multiple-time world's strongest man, knocked him out in the first round. So
that's crazy.
Yeah, this guy is.
Let's go back to Saladin Parnasse. He's a French. The casual fan does not. Well, they see a guy with a French flag by his name, and they don't think much of it. But as a diehard fan, you see a French flag by somebody's name, you know that they've had to jump through many of hoops to be where they are, because MMA just actually got actually legalized in France. So when he was coming up, he was fighting with these goofy rules, and he's like, you know what? I can't do this. I need to do the actual thing. So he's been traveling all over, and now he's found home at KSW. So Matt, what do you think about so do you agree with me? When you see a Frenchman with that flag by his name with a record like Parnasse, that's damn impressive.
Oh yeah. Especially this is making the 1-year anniversary of MMA, legalized in France. It was a big deal for New York. That was a state. This is a whole country, that just legalized. Obviously they're one of the last ones to legalize it out that way. But yeah, I mean, he's fought all over. He's a dangerous fighter. They do have some weird rules in their French MMA.
Yeah, where you get in a position, they got to move you over. Blah blah blah.
Yeah, they're weird. They're kind of weird. He got out of that. He got pretty quick fighting the best competition in the world. Talked to him a few times. Actually talked to him last week about this fight coming up. He's like, man, I'm just going to keep going in there doing my thing and just keep winning. He said, my goal was to win the title. Now my goal was to keep it. It's a lot harder when you got that target on your back and the bullseye's on your back. Everybody wants you. So he's like, I'll take them all. He's like, goal 1 was to win it. Now goal 2 is just to keep rolling.
Absolutely. All right, so let's go ahead and introduce our guest from Alpha 06. We got Sarah. What's up?
Hey, y'all.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, I'm so glad I finally got on here. I was on the way home from the gym, so I knew if I had the camera on, y'all wouldn't be able to see me. It's about I live in Prairieville, about 45 minutes away from my gym, so
that's a travel right there for some rounds.
Oh man, yeah. So usually when I go, I will stay all day out there, so I don't have to keep coming back and forth. But yeah, it's good to be on. I'm glad to talk with y'all.
Yeah, me too. All right, so Sarah, you got some grappling coming up against some brown belts. You're taking a step up in competition. So what's your mindset right now?
I mean, like it's something, it's definitely a significant event for me. I signed up my student Cassidy. If you guys, she competed with me when I did combat jiu-jitsu. The night that I did 2 matches, she competed, and I actually signed her up to do an adult division. It's her first time, and what it is it's called the Artemis Sub Series, and it's really pretty innovative, like for women's jiu-jitsu. Well, I competed for them in Tennessee in August, and it was really great atmosphere, and it was good like stage for a really strong like female competitors. But last time it was just a purple belt division, and this is the third promotion, and they're adding more to it. So my student Cassidy is actually competing in the blue belt division, and she's getting a shot at grand prize of $500. And what it is that 8-person bracket. Mine's an 8-person bracket also. But her 8-person bracket is going to be compiled of white and blue belts. And so that when they win, they get the 500. And I'm in a pro bracket. Last time they're calling it pro. There was a $600 prize, I think, on the line for me last time. But now, because I'm competing against brown and black belts, $1,200 is on the table. And when I signed up my student, I was just gonna, after my last fight in November, I was just gonna just train and focus. But I love competing too much. So whenever I found out they were looking for, somebody in that division, I just decided, well, yeah, I love to compete. So at the end of the day, it's just going to be a great experience for me. I've never had the opportunity to compete at an advanced level against brown and black belt. So, I mean, it's a great place to just show, see what I'm made of, like at a top level. And they're 10-minute rounds, which is so they're 10-minute rounds, sub only, which is my favorite because I can go all day, and I prefer sub only. So we're doing sub only, and I think if you guys watched, I know Matt, you were at my combat jiu-jitsu match where they do the overtime rules. So they do overtime rules, but I think it's EB&I overtime rules. So they have the back escape overtime rules, and I think they do one.
I think the overtime rules. I think didn't they adopt that from Submission Underground, to where you got the back take and the escape.
I know that it was from EB&I for sure.
That was it. That was the Eddie Bravo invitation. That's what it's from. I thought it was, yeah.
Yeah. So last time I competed for them, it was 80cc rules, which is a bit different. But this time, we're the first half of the round is sub only, but then the last half they go off of points. But with this one, it's just 10 minutes. You get to go for 10 minutes, and it's all the way to the end. And I mean, I love competition so much that if I had the opportunity to go a whole 10 minutes with a brown or a black belt, that's so much. That's more than any class or training session. You learn so much just off of that. So we're going to have some fun, and if I win $1,200, that's just even great. I would have done it for free.
I understand that. I mean, I've been on jiu-jitsu competitions as well. I know. My question is, I'm like someone who's grappled competitions with Garcia United. The whole gist of that. I mean, you were under Garcia United as well, under Rafael.
Yeah.
You know what it's like going in there. Look at your bracket. My question to you is, you're at your brown belt right now, right?
Actually, I'm a purple belt.
You're still purple. Okay. My question to you is, all right.
So I get underdog.
You are a huge underdog, but those colors really don't matter once you slap hands.
Yeah. Oh man, the girl that won the competition in Tennessee, the girl that won everything is technically a blue belt, but she's a 10th planet blue belt, and she was she was amazing. So at the end of the day, it's like you don't know what somebody's capable of. You don't know how long they've been training. The colors, we always say, your belt only covers this much of your butt,
That's true.
But,
I mean, I've been doing jiu-jitsu for a better part of probably 10, maybe 11 years. I mean, I'm just a blue belt still. I mean, but when I go on those mats.
But you're not just a blue belt. You got 10 years experience.
I like the way you think.
Yeah.
All right. When you first did your competition as a white belt and you got those jitters, like those butterflies in your stomach, do those still happen to you when you step onto the mats as a purple belt?
To be honest, it's like so it's actually funny that you asked that. So the first time I competed, I did have some jitters going on in my stomach, but I found out 2 days later that I was pregnant with my second child. So those jitters make a whole bunch of like other sense. But I have always loved being like I've always loved to I've never done a lot of competing, but I've always liked to be like I've always been on stage. Like I used to do a lot of like theater and stuff whenever I was in school, a lot of public speaking. So being in front of a crowd for me isn't like it's I like it. So I don't mind it. So and at the end of it, like there are definitely jitters. I remember my first I remember that, even like fight like I get jitters but it's more excitement than fear because at the end of the day, like, whenever we slap or we bump, it's all muscle memory. There's no think, it's just do, and definitely from the first, in comparison to that first competition, it's just, I know what to expect now, like the first time, you don't really know, like, you don't you don't actually have somebody trying to like go full force on you. When we're training with each other, we go hard, but we're not trying to hurt each other. And like in competition, even though it's friendly, you're trying to get that submission. And we say all the time, you don't stop until. And I had a bad habit of this actually. I had a bad habit of stopping the submission because I knew that I got them, and I competed one time and I caught an Ezekiel choke and it was tight. And I know she tapped because I felt her tap, so I let go. And the ref was surprised, and she was like, Ezekiel. But at the end of the day, like if it was a fight or it's a bad habit, and like I do JJF, you don't stop until the ref stops you.
Exactly.
It's still kind of a bad habit of mine. Like I get a little like that's a lot of feedback of mine that I got, from my title MMA fight is that I get a little I gotta go bell to like in MMA we say go to the bell, but like in jiu-jitsu it was a little hard for me to get used to that don't stop until the ref stops you kind of mentality. But like I've met some of my best friends in jiu-jitsu through competition. Like Jill Viator, who's a brown belt, and one of my best training partners. She actually, we had a big open match this past weekend, so they could all come beat me up to get ready for this. I met her competing. Like we met each other, and we crack up about it when we talk about it because when we saw each other at the competition, I was scared of her and she was scared of me because I was like, man, she's intimidating. And later she was like, no, you were intimidating, and it's an environment where I've met the like really great people, but we went hard. Girls go hard, and some of the girls are some of the best people to watch compete because you can always expect a show out of it. And I think that I've always brought that to the table since that first one, But now it's just another day at the office. I love it. I mean, I know there's like I believe in my ability. Like no matter what, I've been doing this for a while also. And I'm a purple belt, like you said, but I've been like you said, you're a blue belt, but you've been doing this for 10 years. I'm a purple belt, and there's been a lot of starts and stops because, like I said, I got pregnant after that first competition. But it's just the thing about jiu-jitsu is you do it forever. So competition for me is just it's great and it keeps me sharp, in that competition mindset for whenever MMA comes around. But now we don't know when the next show is going to happen, in Louisiana. So it's something, to keep me sharp and that I enjoy to do some competition. One day I'd like to, like I'm doing grappling competitions, but I always tell my boxing coach, Georgetown, you know, we're always training for MMA, but he's made me love boxing so much that I know one day I want to do some boxing too. And just because I train in it all the time. So it's just another competition because I love to compete.
Yeah. You said you're an underdog going in as a purple belt, but most of our listeners don't know your husband owns the gym that you train at. So it's not like once you're
Yeah.
off the mats,
Oh
training for
gosh.
you.
Oh
I can
man.
only imagine being married to my sparring partner.
We
So
can't we can't hug each other without swimming for the underhook. Like we don't trust. There
I'll
is
probably be the same
no.
way. Like when I even to this day when I hug my wife, like I don't when she goes under, I'm like I gotta get these underhooks back.
Yeah. Now imagine if she's trying to arm drag you and take you back in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Like we're always training for sure, and it's something that like before you know, my husband, actually me and my husband met at a gym like a long time ago. And so even though before I really got into officially training in jujitsu and all that, I mean, I was always there. I was always watching, and, you know, and so it's still, I've been around this a very long time, like before I ever actually started training. So, and you know, and on top of that, he definitely tries to prepare me the best I can, the best he can. And there's no way. I was telling him this the other day when he was really putting it, like he was picking it up. He was really picking it up on me, and you know, I appreciate it because there's just, you know, I get it's kind of hard to have your husband that is your coach sometimes and like separate the two because you're picking on him, but at the same time, you know, he is, you know, there's nobody that's gonna put that much pressure on me as much as he is, you know. And he's way bigger than I am, and he's a lot more technical and won't leave my legs alone, you know. And he's preparing me for these brown and these black belts because you know, my husband is a brown belt, but he's definitely, I mean, I won't don't tell him. I definitely think he's black belt level. He's been doing this a very
I
long
actually back when he was under training with Rafael, we've actually shared the mat for him. I mean, I didn't go up against him, but the
time.
dude is quick, like stupid quick for someone
Yeah.
his size.
Man, that's something like, so he was like, I don't know if a lot of people realize this about him, but before he a lot of people know him as like a jiu-jitsu guy and everything. But actually, we met at Russell Jones kickboxing, and that was before he ever put a gi on. He was tapping people out and stuff in the cage. It was something
That explains it.
that like, yeah, like that's why like so he officially started training with Rafael to get the jujitsu and everything. And you know, he moved like pretty quickly to blue belt and on because he had that so much experience. But you know, I mean, he's got over 10 years of of MMA experience. But before that, he was a kickboxer, and that's how where we met each other. And he was kickboxing since he was like 14, and you know, and so I think altogether, you know, all with the experience between all the kickboxing and the MMA and the jiu-jitsu, man, he's got more competition and fighting experience than a lot of people here in Louisiana. And I think, you know, at this point, you know, he doesn't want to get that black belt though. At this point, he wants to he wants to stay at the top of the food chain in the brown belt area for a bit.
I
But
understand that.
yeah, but you know, definitely, you know, one day when he gets that black belt, everybody's gonna be like, oh, finally. But yeah, but yeah.
So yeah, you said you were pregnant, so you had to step away from the mat. I have a
Well, I actually
2-year-old.
didn't step away from the mat. I didn't actually.
Oh,
I trained while I was pregnant. That's why, like, I trained up until I pretty much couldn't put my G pants on, and and then shortly after I had my son, I like right when I was allowed to, I started getting back to training again. So that's when I really started picking up the competition because
right.
like I didn't know that I was pregnant and I competed, and it was like, man, I worked so hard and I had that one competition, and you know, but it was really just motivation to keep going. And that's, my son is, there are big reasons why I work so hard. It's never stopped me from doing the things that I want to do. It's just been a little trickier, you know. Like whenever I thought there was a photo of me that went viral a couple years ago when I fought in Oklahoma, because I brought my kids with me, and my little one was still like nursing. And whenever uh, their rules in Oklahoma are just so different from Louisiana, the MMA, the how the commission runs and everything.
Hmm.
And I was separate. I had them with me at the fight, but once I was in the corner, like, I had to stay there the entire time. I was separated from them for, at least 6 hours. And luckily, I was like the third fight. So I got to fight, and then that was it. I got to be with my kids. But, they were really young, and they saw me fight, and then they were just like going nuts because they really just wanted me. And so there was a picture that went viral afterwards where I was actually like, I just grabbed some baby wipes and cleaned up, and like my husband's cutting the wraps off and I'm nursing my son like after like a 3 round battle. Because like being a mom and being a martial artist, they're not exclusive things. You can do both. It's just you just move differently.
Yeah.
But what were you asking about that competition? I'm
Oh
sorry.
yeah. I was asking. You have a son. I have a soon-to-be 3-year-old. He's
Uh-huh.
obsessed with fighting me. Like he'll just walk
Oh,
up to me. He'll go, "Want to fight?" I'm like, "Dude, not yet."
yeah.
Your son, how old is he now?
I actually have two sons.
Two.
I started training when my first was 6 months old, and then I got pregnant when he was 15 months old. So it was like extra, like craziness. But I have one that is 6, and then the other is 4.
All right. So, do they have any interest in putting on the gi or the gloves?
Man, most of the time you can't stop them. Like they're always training. We're there every day. We have classes 6 days a week. The only day that we don't have anything is a Saturday because we usually compete or like try to train other places. But I have my kids with me everywhere. You know, they're at that gym every day, and they see us train every day. So I mean, my son. I mean, like it's crazy like how like when you're coaching and you try to teach brand new people certain things like a technical stand up or like a spawn, and my kids, that's just how they stand up all the time because
Yeah.
or just real crisp technique on like movement and stuff like that. They don't even realize they're doing jiu-jitsu. They just they're roughhousing, but actually they're grappling. And I'm halfway like wanting to tell them to stop, and also asking him why he doesn't have his hooks in. Like
Right.
like that's just how we are, and you know, that's something like I feel like to them it's almost just like a birthright at this point because like they both learned how to crawl on that mat and like walk and run, and now we just can't keep them off of there. And actually, my son, my 6-year-old, wants we're actually getting to a point where we're actually going to let him do his first competition. Hopefully, if all goes well in New Orleans in February, there's an AGF tournament. And for his age group, we can choose to do submissions or like points only. And so for him, we're going to let him do like a points only because he is all about the takedowns and all about the passing and the points. But he'll stand up and just let you stand up so he can take you down again. So with a competition like that, it's getting his foot in the door. But these new generation of jiu-jitsu players are just incredible, and it's because they started so young and they had that influence. You know, and like there's I don't know if you guys, are familiar with a lot of jiu-jitsu stars, but I think Jessica Khan, she's like
Yeah.
18 years old, or younger than that. And she
Yeah.
just got
She's
her black belt.
stupid young, and she's already
Yeah,
almost to that star status.
yeah, she just got her black belt recently. And I'm like, or like even on a more like local level, Mona Bailey, my student competed against her in Empire. She just got her purple belt, and she just turned 16. It's phenomenal. Like,
it's a whole new,
crazy.
it's a new blood coming up.
Yeah, so the best thing that I could do for my kids is, just hand them the legacy of jiu-jitsu. Actually, more than likely, I see my older son wanting to probably do. I can see him wanting to fight like down the line.
Like his dad,
I don't
huh?
know about. Yeah, I mean, there's something in him. It's actually funny because I named him Owen, and his name actually means young fighter. So, and it's so crazy how true to his name he is because he likes to train. Actually, my boxing coach Georgetown was saying when he turns 7, he'll start doing some boxing with him too. That's his buddy right there.
That's gonna
But
be some scary 7-year-old.
yeah,
I mean, my wife is a second
oh yeah.
grade teacher. I like those little kids. I mean, they got some spunk in them, but put some
Oh yeah.
boxing gloves on them, get them some technique, and that's gonna be one scary little
Oh,
kid.
he was cracking me up. He was playing outside one day and he was wearing a Halloween costume and there were all these kids playing out there and he was like in the middle of a cul-de-sac, like a circle, and I'm looking at him to check on him. He's just sitting there shadow boxing. Very technically too. Like there's some things that I didn't like. He threw a spinning back elbow, and I was like, "What is that? What? I don't."
Who taught you that?
Yeah, but then so our neighbors know that we're fighters, so they see me running the circle and shadow boxing around the circle all the time. So when they see him doing it, they're probably like, "Oh, yeah, okay, he's
They're at
not
it
good."
again.
That crazy couple. Actually, during quarantine, we were skiing. My husband was sparring all the time in the front and like rolling and stuff. So people always get a kick out of that. But I mean, we're like that's the one thing like with COVID and quarantine and stuff like that is at least being able to have like I'm married to my coach, so we still got to feed that that well with some knowledge and training anyways, however minimal it is, but some people couldn't even do that. So I was grateful for that.
Yeah. Like if your kids are ever like fighting in the other room, do you ever yell, just stop that, or you better be using proper technique in there? Like,
I mean, it
how do you
really
turn off
depends.
like how do you turn on the mom switch and turn off the fighter switch? Or can you
Man,
turn
like I said, I mean, like it's really hard. Like I said, like sometimes, like I saw my son, my younger one, like had his name's Baron. Baron had my son Owen's back, and he had it, but he didn't have the hook. And I was like, stop. Well, wait, get your hooks and then stop. Like because I'm like, oh, okay, but like because I want you to stop, but I also want you to like get better at
do it right? Do it right and then stop.
yeah, so basically, it's just that and then the rule is, I don't, like, if they do that, it's more so that I just don't want them to do it when I'm not watching, because my little one, he's 4, and he even, like, I pull out the agility ladder, and, like, at the gym, and they both know they both know all the moves, like, all the, everything that's supposed to be done on there. So, and however many times we do the agility ladder, they'll do it several times a day. So that technique, they have it. And like, I'm like, I kind of want to tell them to get off the mat because we're doing something. But at the same time, that's some pretty crispy technique. So I guess keep going and then get off the mat, please.
Yeah. It's like you're like, that's my boy, but at the same time, you gotta get the hell up out of here.
Yeah. I mean, everyone basically at our gym is just used to it because, like I said, they're with me every single day, and I don't have like they don't have. When they were younger, I did have nannies, to help me. I wouldn't have gotten, to do a lot of the things that I did without them. But especially like for the most part now, there's no nannies, there's not a lot of help, which is fine, but people are going to hear some screaming every now and then in the background while we're training. Or like I'll be in the middle of choking somebody and fussing at the same time, and I'm like, I'm sorry.
I mean,
like I'm trying to finish the choke and telling my
yeah.
kid to,
I'm a middle school teacher. When I see two kids, like these two seventh graders fighting, I want to just stop and coach when I'm like, look, you got your chin way up in the air. You're asking to be sparked right now, but you got to tuck that. But at the same time, I got to be responsible adult right here. My next question for you is, your sons are at that age where they're starting school, kindergarten, pre-K. Like, do you ever dread that phone call? It's going to happen one day. I mean, I know it's going to happen with my child who loves fighting. I dread that phone call one day, like, hey, your son got in a fight. Are you going to be that?
That actually has happened already. But, it wasn't his fault. And, I had to, I had to explain. So right now, actually, I'm actually like really talking about dreading school age. My younger one is the crazy one. Like, he's the one that I'm really not looking forward to that. But my older one, he's gone to like some of the like pre-K classes and stuff. But I actually homeschool him. So that's another thing. Like with everything else, I actually.
Oh, so when you homeschool, fighting in school is encouraged.
Yeah, exactly. But that's why I'm like, look, we don't do this at school. We're like getting him ready for that. But he was actually in a little program, and I think the kid hit him first. But the problem is that the kid hit him first. He hit the kid back, and very technically, and then also didn't stop, and
Play the stupid game, you win the stupid prize.
And so the thing is that, and I mean, I was definitely, he's so much like me. I was like that a lot in school also. Like I've been in my fair, I'm not in pre-K, but I think probably like first grade is the first time I ever actually got into a fight. And so but for him, I'm trying to get him to understand that, yes, I was teaching you these things. And and so this was actually a really awkward conversation for me because I was trying to tell him we don't hit our friends, but he actually sees me hit my friends all the time. I'm like, okay, how do I put this into words? Okay, like
you don't hit. I can't even give you advice on. I don't even know what to say myself. Like, yeah, we hit our friends, but we don't hit our friends.
Yeah. But so also between that, and then getting him to understand that, if you can walk away, you walk away. If they hit you, you walk away and you go tell somebody. You don't hit them back and then keep going. This is a whole take my advice, don't listen, don't do what I do what I say kind of thing.
Right.
I never did that. But for you, kid, can you walk away, okay? And because I was trying to explain there's a difference between, self-defense, you're hitting them back, but if you hit them back and you don't stop, you're gonna get in more trouble, But so getting it and then also trying to get him to understand that, these kids aren't exposed to martial arts. They don't see this all the time. He does. He knows how powerful it is. He knows that you could really hurt somebody. And I was explaining to him just somebody was starting an altercation with me, or somebody was trying to get into a fight with me or with his dad, we could get in a lot of trouble because we know how to fight, And it's the same thing with him. I was like, you were teaching me these, you're learning jujitsu, and one day you're going to know how to box and all this, but you can't. It's a power that is, the more you learn, the more you're quiet. And that's one of the things that I definitely I want him to understand. It's like Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility.
Exactly.
And it's definitely something that I've learned as I age, because martial arts definitely, it's funny, I ran into somebody I went to high school with the other day, and they were just like, man, I'm telling everybody, I know you, but everybody that knew me back then doesn't realize it. I am so much more dangerous than I am now, but you know, I am so much nicer now than I was then. You know, it's martial arts does that to you. You know, you become your body becomes a weapon that you find at peace. You know, where back in the day I was, you know, you probably, especially Matt, always calls me a sweetheart. I'm like, you know, that's good. I'm glad you think so. Because, you know, back in the day, you know, I wasn't. But, you know, but that's why, you know, jujitsu and martial arts is so important for anybody, you know, no matter what age or what sex or whatever. When you start doing jujitsu or any martial arts, it changes that, you know. That's definitely something that I like. That's why, like, doing fighting and all that is the best example I could set for my kids. I can't remember. I think it was a UFC fighter, Lauren Murphy, that did an interview where she was talking about that with her son, and it resonated with me so well because, like, you know, I'm the only daughter. I have two brothers, and like my mom was always telling everybody how she has, you know, two sons, but I'm the one that fight. You know, I'm the fighter. My brothers are one of my brothers is a paramedic, and the other is a nurse. You know, and but the thing is that like the best thing that I ever did for my kids was start fighting because that's the best example I could set for them. You know,
Right.
that's
I
the only
agree.
way
I agree with that 100%.
yeah, like, you know, so but you know, that's you know, as far as my kids and all that, like, you know, like I I I I think they've only seen me fight a couple of times and everything. They've seen me fight a couple of times, but they've never had to see anything pretty like brutal, you know, for me. Like they've seen my husband fight a couple of times, and you know, like if you've seen him fight, he is a zombie. You just can't stop him, and he just keeps going, going, going. And there's been some pretty like bloody fights that they've had to see from him and
Yeah.
everything, and they handled that pretty well. But I don't know how they would handle it if it was me, you know. So we'll see. They probably try and jump in that cage too, but I don't know.
Right.
But like, so like now I take them over. Like I said, I've taken them with me to so many fights. But this last time that I fought, I didn't have them, and it was like really weird for me. Like mentally, like it was weird that they weren't there, and even like everyone was expecting me to have them there, and you know, and I think that was definitely like I was something I felt like I needed to do, especially with like all the COVID stuff and everything. But also like because they're getting older and my son is 6 and stuff, like I didn't know how it was gonna go. It would be like, you know, like just like we were talking about, like, you know, like underdogs and experience stuff. The girl that I fought is like green technically, but she was, you know, she was tough, and I knew she was gonna be tough, and I just wasn't sure that I was, you know, gonna be ready for my sons to see a really good, gritty fight if they needed to. So that's kind of where I'm at now with them and like bringing them on the journey with me. But I think next time I'm still probably like after it's all been said and done, I'm pretty sure that I learned my lesson there. I'm probably still just gonna bring them along because like I think, you know, I have a tendency to not I worry too much. That's what my coach says all the time. I worry too much, and I was thinking about all of that, and I didn't consider
Hmm.
the fact that I wasn't going to be in the right state of mind if they weren't with me. You know, but that's just, you know, that's just me. I'm not like, you know, that's just like like mentally ready for a fight can be different for a lot of people. And weirdly enough, I found out that it was weird for me not to have my kids. You know, go
Yeah.
figure. You
And
know.
you said your oldest one likes to fight. So inevitably, I got a strong feeling he's gonna tape them up, wrap the hands, put the gloves on, step into the cage. That
Hmm.
when that day inevitably comes, will mom and dad be in his corner, or do you think you'll be the type of parents that I can't do it? Let him have his own
Oh,
pages.
now let me tell you, me and my husband talk about this all the time because, you know, whenever I wanted to fight, like that's how we met each other. You know, me and my husband met each other because I wanted to fight. But then, you know, time passed and I didn't because, you know, my husband has two other children and they were very young at the time and I was raising them. And you know, I didn't think I could have kids and train. And I, you know, more life experience, realize that's not how it goes. But you know, that was one of his big things. It was like I fight all the time, but I don't know if I could see you fight. And now he's gotten used to it. You know, he still says he gets more nervous about me fighting than he does when he fights. You know, I'm like, man, I could see it. Like, you know, I'm not that nervous, but I can see him nervous. I'm like, stop it, you're making me nervous. But you know, when it comes to our son, you know, I definitely feel like I'm going to be way more nervous than I ever was about me fighting. It's just in that same way. But I also know that the reasons why, like, my husband does get nervous, but he settles down, is because he knows that I've done everything I could to prepare up until that point. And, like, and, you know, we learned a big lesson from my first fight, and I'm never going to get hurt like that again. Like, and I would never let my son take a fight. Like, I would never let my son take a fight that wasn't a good match for him. And that was, and believing in his skill and believing that it's a good match, it would be enough for me to calm down. You know, and it's something that I don't want to do to him to make him feel like he can't do it or I'm not supportive, you know, because like I know what that feels like, you know, my mom is definitely like, you know, coming around to the idea. She does not like it. You know, for the first times that I fought, that was one of the biggest problems is that I didn't have like so many moms and you know grandmas wear t-shirts or in the front row, but I didn't have that. You know, and it's like you know, at the end of the day, that's okay with me as long as I don't get any crap for it. I'm good. But like with my son, yeah, I'm gonna be nervous, but I'm also not gonna. I will be that mama that says, no, you're not taking that fight, you know, because X, Y, and Z, you know, like, but I would never tell him, you know, I'm going to be nothing but supportive. I'm just going to like be, bringing myself, you know, in that corner. But without a doubt, you know, when that time comes, he's going to be totally like, I know that he's going to have so much skill and that there's not going to be so much to worry about because that's where the fear comes in. Fear comes when you know you're not prepared, you know.
Right.
And being nervous and having jitters is one thing. Being scared that your son is going to get hurt is different. And I know that I'll have jitters, but I'm not going to be scared he's going to get hurt because I'm not. He's going to be ready. we're gonna start training now. But,
Yes,
but
ma'am.
well, I mean, they even started doing like you know, we actually have a pretty young kid that trains with us for MMA, and man, when he like his parents are pretty supportive. He's only 17. Oh, he's 16. I'm sorry, he's 16.
We actually just had a kid still in high school come on the show, had his first amateur fight, and it just blew my mind because I was sitting here, I was watching his Instagram, like his sparring sessions, and this was like from 2 years ago. So he was sparring at 15, and it was just ridiculous his skill level at 15. Like I wish, like I could have been in the gym in high school at that age, but we didn't have that.
Yeah. Well, actually, so my husband started like fighting at 14. But he eventually had to stop because I found out he was 14. But he had racked up like 21 wins, one loss, all against adults. Like this is you know way back in the day when they weren't so strict, I guess, on you know, and so you know, and so this kid that trains with him, he reminds me of that. Like, and with Josh Gaddy, like when I see him and Josh spar, it's like a small Josh sparring, very quick, you know, very in all that, and it's just one of the kids, that new generation that we're talking about. But he wants to fight so bad, you know, and it's just one of those things that, like, I know that because how like we are with you know this kid, and we want you know what's best for him. His parents are super supportive of him. But Josh we are never gonna let him. Josh is never gonna let him step foot in the cage unless he's totally ready. And he just wants one right now. And I know that one day my son will probably be like that. He'll be like 16 and say, "Oh, I want to fight," And it's just that young gun thing. They just want it, But no matter what, like we tell him all the time, well, we told this kid who was like 14 or 15 when he came in, and he said, "I want to be a fighter. I'm going to be the youngest UFC champion in the world." And Josh was like, "Okay, well, you better." He's like, "If you want to fight, you better put in the work." And man, that kid listened. Like I mean, to the
Exactly.
fullest extent. He's like one of the hardest workers ever. And he's definitely going to be something because when he comes out, you have to. His name is Tyler Mason, and you guys have to remember that name because one day you're going to see him in there, and you're going to be amazed. He's something.
I would love to get him on the
But
show before his first fight, actually.
yeah, oh my goodness, he would love that.
Let him come on.
Yeah.
We're local fighter centric, so
Speaking if young fighters, if you guys, I know you guys have seen, heard of Jacob Small, right?
yeah, Biggie.
Yeah, he's one of my.
Love Jacob.
Yeah, I love him to death. We were teammates under Gracie United.
Exactly. That's how I met him. I met him when he was training up in A Meet with Kurt.
Yeah, teaching all the classes and stuff over there too. Like he was teaching over. He taught a lot for Gracie United, but he's in a good city now. But we're super close, still. And one of the things that I met him. He's way younger than me, but I think he started fighting when he was in high school too. So
He did actually.
he's got it, man. Like he is one of the toughest people I know. And like, you saw that last fight?
Yes, I did. And
did you see them Photoshop the twisted T in his hand whenever he was?
Yes, I mean, if people watching, if you're not friends with Jacob Small on Facebook, I highly recommend follow him on social media. He has one of the best social medias. Very entertaining. I love Jacob Small to death. He was one of my favorite training partners back in A-Meet. I miss him. I'd love to grapple with him again one day.
Yeah, I mean, he is an entertainer to the biggest extent.
Yes, he is.
He is also he's a very good coach too.
Very knowledgeable, high fight IQ.
Yes, absolutely. And he was like the best hype man too. Because he's actually he's cornered me for a few of my fights. But I remember the first time we drove to Houston because my husband was fighting for LFA, and I remember he came out there to help me corner him and stuff. And I remember the walkout speech he was giving to Josh. I was like, dang, I want to fight now. He's very knows how to just get you hyped up and ready to go out there. And that's always been one of my favorite things about it. But he's on top of that, he's a great guy and really great friend, But that's one of the biggest examples I have of somebody that started fighting. And he was in high school. I think he was in high school when he started fighting, and it's legit, But
I'm glad you shout out Jacob. He deserves it. Especially with him. I mean, he's been on the wrong end on some controversial decisions. So I would love to get him on the show, actually. Actually, I'm going to go slide to those DMs pretty soon.
And he's, being with Mid-City and everything, you could, I think that's definitely, I've seen him blossom a lot more. And I feel like the opportunities that are presented to him are definitely going to, the sky's the limit for that kid. So, and he's so young. I see pro coming, fairly soon,
Yeah.
And, but yeah.
All right. Well, Sarah, thank you for coming on. I cannot appreciate this enough. It was a fun conversation. I love hearing the mom fighter aspect of the MMA world because moms are out there and moms are getting in that cage whooping ass.
Oh man, I went to there's just so many, and I see so many, and it's one of those things that at first when I started fighting, I felt like that was what I was known for, you know, because I, you know, that's, you know, what I was. But the thing is that like I appreciate everyone saying that about me, but at the end of the day, there's all kinds of moms like going out there and fighting, and like it's, you know, it's nice to be able to give that perspective, but for sure, like there's tons of powerful moms and women out there. But it was great to be on the show. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
talking with
So,
you.
Sarah, where can we see you next? Let the viewers know where we're watching you.
So Artemis, Artemis sub series. It's should be it'll be live streamed on Facebook.
Okay.
For sure. Last time it was a Secretarial Invitational that live streamed it, but if you Artemis sub series, you know, go like them on Instagram, and you can get all the updates and all the live info and everything. And just stay tuned, and you know, I'll be posting about it, letting everybody know, you know, when that's coming. And you know, as far as MMA goes, I guess we'll see. You know, we just keep on grinding until we have some news there. You know, just
Yeah.
taking the time now, just get ready for whatever.
All right. So, Sarah, again, thank you for coming on. Come on anytime you want to. We loved having you. Thank you for joining the club.
All right. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thank you. That was good. I love that. That was fun. I mean, because when we picture MMA, we picture these rough and rowdy guys, but we never picture actual moms coming in here. I mean, they do exist, especially from the UFC to the locals. Like bad women. I'm not just saying that because she was just on here, but these women, they'll knock your block off.
Oh,
all right.
Absolutely. Yep.
So Matt, let's roll over this award show till next week. Let's get some winners on here. All right. We're going to lead off with that next week. So everybody, thank you for joining the club tonight. Matt, how you want to finish this?
First rule of the Fight Club: tell all your friends about AYS FightClub.
Yes. And please check Sarah out on the Artemis sub series. Go support her. Support our local fighters. All right. Thank y'all for joining.